Shedeur Sanders didn't just drop a logo, he detonated a market. When the SS crown hit Nike's platform, it triggered a digital stampede that overwhelmed servers and wiped out global inventory in less than 3 days. Unlike typical rookies, Sanders entered with a clear identity and a brand that spoke fluently to Gen Z and global streetwear culture. His message, quiet discipline, legacy awareness, and self-possession, resonated far beyond the field.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It was momentum. While legacy brands processed analytics, fans responded to authenticity. The SS crown became more than gear. It symbolized a new kind of athletic presence, one not waiting for media coronation, but commanding attention through action and design. For Nike, the miscalculation forced internal restructuring and a likely overhaul of their entire endorsement model. Competitors like Adidas and Puma, caught flat-footed, launched emergency initiatives to spot the next Shedeur before the next draft. The ripple effect wasn't limited to retail. It shifted how rookies are evaluated, how fan loyalty is defined, and how athletes now walk into leagues not as unknowns, but as built-in markets. Nike wasn't ready. The NFL wasn't ready. Honestly, no one was ready. Shedeur Sanders dropped his SS crown logo, and the sports world cracked open like a soda can at kickoff. What was supposed to be a clean little rollout, an endorsement campaign tethered to a standard rookie marketing arc, turned into a seismic event that caught every major brand off balance. Within 2 minutes, Nike's website buckled under the weight of demand. Global inventory? Gone in 72 hours. This wasn't just a product launch. It was a cultural shift, a masterclass in brand gravity. Because Shedeur didn't just enter the NFL. He arrived, fully formed, fully branded, and fully in control of a movement that most rookies don't tap into for years, if ever. And the craziest part? He barely said a word. No overhyped promo tour. No dramatic slogans. No viral antics. Just the logo, clean, symbolic, deliberate. The SS crown. It wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. It represented legacy, ownership, and focus. A signal to anyone paying attention. Shedeur wasn't here to be part of someone else's brand plan. He was bringing his own. Nike had to scramble. Internally, this wasn't just a sellout. It was a crisis. Their logistics teams weren't equipped for the kind of instantaneous global demand Sanders triggered. Fulfillment centers backed up. Emergency meetings were called. Marketing plans had to be restructured on the fly. What started as a cautious rookie endorsement now had to be completely renegotiated because Nike suddenly found itself underleveraged on an athlete whose value had just exploded. And while Nike was recovering, Adidas and Puma were already picking up the phone, asking how they missed this, how they could avoid missing the next one. Because Sanders didn't just shake up sneaker sales. He exposed a flaw in how the entire industry evaluates athlete potential. For years, the standard model was, prove yourself first, then we'll talk branding. Now, that timeline's dead. Shedeur came in with a built-in audience, a fully activated base, digital traction, international reach. He didn't need to be marketed. He was the market. Every training clip, every media appearance, every subtle display of his logo reinforced the brand's core message, that the work is the brand. No theatrics, no hype gap, just consistency. And that's what landed so hard with fans. The SS crown didn't feel like another corporate stamp. It felt earned. It felt like a natural extension of everything Sanders had already built. People weren't just buying clothes. They were buying into a mindset. The logo didn't scream. It didn't beg for attention. It was present, understated, minimal, yet unmissable. You'd see it on a hoodie at a practice, on gloves during a warm-up, not marketed at people, just woven in, letting the story tell itself. And that subtlety? It worked. Because the brand wasn't built in a boardroom. It was built through tape, grit, repetition, and fans knew it. The result was a kind of cultural wildfire, not confined to football circles either. This wasn't just gridiron hype. It bled into fashion, music, international streetwear. Demand soared in Europe and Asia, places where American football is usually an afterthought. But this wasn't about the game. It was about identity. And that's where the impact really started to shift industry perspective. The Shedeur effect, as analysts are now calling it, is reshaping how teams, brands, and even leagues evaluate rookies. Stats still matter. But now, so does presence. So does resonance. Because what Sanders proved is that cultural capital isn't something you build after success. It's something you can walk in with. And when it's real, when it's lived, not just a marketing gimmick, it becomes unstoppable. Nike got caught flat-footed. Their conservative rollout plan wasn't designed for this kind of viral, values-based acceleration. The infrastructure couldn't keep up. The forecasting was wrong. The rollout was undersized. And now, the contract's being renegotiated fast because they know they underplayed it. They treated Sanders like a traditional rookie. What they got was a cultural phenomenon who made their entire system look outdated. Meanwhile, Adidas and Puma are hitting reset. Executives are revisiting scouting strategies. Their mission now? Find the next athlete who brings not just performance, but presence. Someone who doesn't need a billboard to command attention, because they already built the audience themselves. And that's the playbook Sanders just handed them, whether they're ready for it or not. For the NFL, this triggers a different kind of reckoning. Shedeur gear is now outselling official team merchandise in some places. Think about that. A rookie's personal logo is showing up more often than the team colors. That disrupts the entire model of franchise-first fandom. We're entering an era where fans don't just follow teams, they follow people. Stories, ethics, identity. They want to align with players who stand for something, who reflect a lifestyle, not just a stat sheet. The league can't ignore that. Sponsors can't ignore that. Merchandisers definitely can't ignore that. And it means everything from licensing agreements to broadcast deals is going to feel that pressure. Because Shedeur didn't wait for permission to become a brand. He walked in as one. And he brought the infrastructure with him. Even his quiet, composed media presence played into it. He doesn't overtalk. He doesn't sell gimmicks. But everything he says and does reinforces the same image: controlled, prepared, intentional. The SS crown isn't just a logo. It's a philosophy. And in a space where so much athlete branding has felt forced or out of touch, Sanders brought something the market hadn't seen in years: authenticity. His rise isn't about going viral. It's about being real. And because of that, his reach isn't just wide, it's deep. Fans don't just wear the SS gear because it looks cool. They wear it because it means something. It reflects a mindset they connect with: grind, focus, poise. That connection turns customers into advocates. It turns consumers into a community. And that's the biggest shock of all. Because in under a week, Shedeur Sanders didn't just outsell expectations. He rewired the expectations altogether. So now the race is on. Not to find the next athletic prodigy, but to find the next cultural one. The kid who can ball and build. The one who understands that in 2026, a highlight reel is only part of the picture. You also need narrative, identity, brand fluency. Shedeur walked in with all of that on day one. And whether the league likes it or not, that's the new blueprint. Let us know where you stand on the Shedeur effect. Are we witnessing the future of athlete branding? Or is this a one-off lightning strike? Hit that like button if you're watching this unfold with your jaw on the floor. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Because if this is how Sanders enters the league, just wait until he starts dominating it. And if you think this is just a one-week wonder, think again. Because this isn't a blip. It's a blueprint. Every part of this explosion, the branding, the rollout, the global reaction, was built on fundamentals that aren't going anywhere. The SS crown didn't break the internet because it was trendy. It broke the internet because it meant something. And that meaning wasn't manufactured by Nike's marketing team. It was cultivated, refined, and broadcast by Shedeur himself long before the swoosh ever signed on. He's not mimicking the model. He is the model now. Let's break that down. Typically, When an athlete signs with a major brand like Nike, there's a sequence. You go pro. You play well. You maybe get some TV time. If you're lucky, and if the stars align, you'll get a signature campaign down the line, years later. That's the way it's always been. Until now. Shedeur flipped that script on arrival. He didn't wait for the league to give him a platform. He brought his own. He didn't ask for a seat at the table. He showed up with a table, chairs, silverware, and his own damn menu. That's why this thing hit so hard. Because it wasn't Nike telling us who Shedeur Sanders is. It was Shedeur Sanders telling Nike who he's always been. And now, the entire industry has to catch up. Because this kind of brand velocity doesn't play by the old rules. It doesn't care about position. It doesn't wait for awards or media cycles. It's built on audience alignment and narrative. All things Shedeur locked in well before draft night. And that narrative? It's airtight. Legacy without entitlement. Swagger without excess. Discipline without performative hustle. Everything about his image reflects structure, intention, and control. Every piece of the SS brand tells the same story. I'm not here to chase attention. I'm here to own it. That message hit different. Especially for Gen Z, who've grown allergic to corporate fluff and forced authenticity. They don't want filtered inspiration. They want real. And Shedeur, without even trying to be loud, spoke to an entire generation that's tired of the noise. That's why the logo mattered. Minimal. Clean. No flames, no lightning bolts, no edgy font. Just a crown, sharp lines, deliberate weight. Quietly regal. It wasn't just a design, it was a declaration. A signal that this was about more than football. This was about mindset, control, ownership. That's why it sold out in 72 hours. That's why Nike servers couldn't handle the heat. That's why, when fans lined up at stores or refreshed carts online, they weren't just buying merchandise. They were buying access, alignment, belonging, and that terrifies legacy brands. Because it proves they no longer hold the keys. They're not the tastemakers anymore. The athletes are. For Nike, this was a wake-up call. They walked into this deal treating Shedeur like a promising rookie. High upside, sure, but still a prospect. Someone to build with over time. Instead, he came through the door already bigger than the campaign they had planned for him. Now they're playing catch-up. Emergency meetings. Distribution headaches. Contract renegotiations that were never supposed to happen this early. Nike's internal systems just weren't designed for a rookie to move product the way Shedeur did, especially not product under his own identity, separate from any team affiliation. And that's another part of this that's changing the landscape. Because when fans are wearing more SS Crown hoodies than team jerseys at games, that's not a fluke. That's a signal. The team is no longer the default brand. The player is. For the NFL, this is uncharted territory. For decades, the league's entire merchandising and media ecosystem has revolved around franchise loyalty. Logos, jerseys, the shield. Now, fans are more invested in individual athletes, what they stand for, what they wear, how they move, than in any single team's identity. And Shedeur is the proof. He's not even playing in the league yet, and his logo is outperforming the franchises. That doesn't just shake up Nike's supply chain. It shakes up the NFL's business model. Because if fans continue choosing player-branded gear over team apparel, sponsorship deals shift. Revenue sharing agreements shift. Even media coverage shifts. Analysts, commentators, and journalists are already adapting. They're not just talking about arm strength and QB rating. They're analyzing personal branding, digital traction, and off-field influence. The Shedeur effect isn't a trend. It's a new category. From now on, athletes won't just be evaluated on the field. They'll be evaluated on cultural resonance, audience loyalty, platform potential. This isn't about distractions. It's about reach. And Shedeur's reach is global. His merchandise flew in Europe. It moved in Asia. Not because international fans suddenly fell in love with college football, but because the aesthetic and the ethos of the brand made sense, even without football context. That's how you know it's bigger than sport. And it's forcing brands, Nike included, to rethink how they scout and sign talent. It's no longer enough to back a sure thing all-pro. Now they're racing to identify cultural catalysts, players with the power to move people before they move chains. Which brings us back to the difference between hype and heat. Shedeur's momentum wasn't manufactured. It was cultivated. And it's sustainable precisely because it didn't rely on artificial build-up or viral gimmicks. Every step, from interviews to pre-game fits to press conferences, has been on message, on brand, and rooted in the same consistent values. Work, focus, legacy. No noise, no excess. That kind of consistency is rare. And when it shows up in someone this early in their career, it's powerful. Because it means the brand isn't riding results, it's creating them. And that's why this matters. Because while older models of athlete marketing relied on performance first and storytelling later, Shedeur Sanders has proven you can lead with identity. You can come in with a message, a logo, a vision, and let the performance validate the brand, not define it. That flips the whole system. It means athletes have more leverage. It means brands have to listen. And it means fans, for the first time, get to align with something deeper than a scoreboard. They get to align with someone. So now, the question isn't whether other rookies will follow Shedeur's path. The question is whether they can. Because this wasn't just about timing. It wasn't just about the logo. It was about living the brand before launching it. That's the part people miss. You can't fake this. You can't rush it. You can't put out a slick logo and expect the world to care if the story behind it isn't real. But Shedeur didn't just slap a crown on a hoodie. He earned that symbol. He built the message through action, through preparation, through restraint. And the world responded, not because he asked, but because he showed. That's influence. That's identity. That's what this entire explosion was built on. And now, the rest of the industry has no choice but to pivot. Because Shedeur Sanders didn't just sell out a product line. He sold out a mindset. And that mindset is here to stay. There's a reason executives are rattled. It's not just the numbers, though those are wild on their own. It's not just the site crash, the international sellout, the contract renegotiation. It's that everything they thought they knew about influence is being challenged. The model that's held for decades, where athletes work their way up into the spotlight, is being turned on its head by a rookie who walked into the room already casting a shadow. And here's what's even more unsettling to the old guard. Shedeur never asked for their permission. He didn't wait for a championship ring. He didn't need to make a Pro Bowl. He didn't have to co-sign with a Hall of Famer or get approved by the old media cycle. Because he didn't need gatekeepers. He had leverage. Real leverage. Built off authenticity, consistency, and narrative control. You want to know why this hit so hard? It's because he never separated the product from the process. Every time Shedeur showed up, whether it was for a workout, a presser, or a game, he was reinforcing the same image. There was no on switch for the cameras. There was no brand voice separate from his real voice. It was always the same message: discipline, focus, identity. Not the overplayed, I'm different trope. Just clarity, purpose. And when the SS crown dropped, it didn't feel like marketing. It felt like the next chapter of something fans had already been watching build, day by day. That's why it sold out. That's why it mattered. And now, the ripple effect is undeniable. Because while Nike tries to course correct, while Adidas and Puma are playing catch-up, while every sports marketing agency suddenly scrambles to rework their scouting criteria, fans have already moved on. They're not asking whether Shedeur's branding is legit. They're wearing it, sharing it, owning it. They're not just customers, they're participants in the story. And that's where the old system loses control. Because you can't program that. You can't force it with a focus group or pump it up with ads. What Shedeur has is earned loyalty, built from time, message discipline, realness. His logo didn't blow up because of hype. It blew up because people believed it meant something. So now the conversation shifts from how do we market athletes to how do we identify athletes who already understand the market. Brands are learning fast that it's not about who has the best 40-yard dash or who makes the top 10 highlight reel. It's about who can carry narrative weight, who can shape culture just by existing in the public eye, in full alignment with what they represent. Shedeur didn't set out to reinvent the athlete endorsement game. He just showed up already playing a different one. And now the NFL has a decision to make. Do they lean in, or do they resist? Because as fans continue showing up in SS Crown gear instead of team jerseys, as Shedeur becomes a walking brand that transcends his eventual draft destination, the league is being forced to confront a reality it's never had to face before. The player might be bigger than the team. That challenges everything. Franchise-first branding? Under threat. Traditional merchandising splits? Being questioned. If this trend holds, and there's no reason to believe it won't, then team loyalty may start taking a back seat to player-driven identity. For the NFL, that's a control issue. They've built an empire on the idea that the shield is the main character. Players come and go, but the league remains. But what happens when fans stop buying into the shield and start buying into a symbol? What happens when the logo on the hoodie in the crowd isn't an NFL team, but a rookie's personal brand? You're watching it happen in real time. Shedeur's success isn't just a branding win, it's a test case. It's a disruption. And it's coming from someone who hasn't played a single down of pro football yet. That's unheard of. But maybe that's the point. Maybe that's exactly why it's working. Because for the first time, a player is entering the league with all of the influence, before the league had a chance to mold him into their system. He built it outside their walls, and now they have to adapt to him. And while the business world scrambles to keep up, Shedeur stays quiet, focused. He's not doing endless interviews. He's not capitalizing on the moment with an over-the-top media tour. Because he doesn't need to. The work is speaking. The brand is working. The fans are showing up. And the craziest part? We're still before the draft. This entire shockwave happened without an NFL snap. That should terrify every brand exec still stuck in the old model. Because it means the timeline is gone. It means the wait-and-see era is over. If an athlete walks in ready with a message, a symbol, and a connection to an audience, they're already a force. And your 5-year endorsement plan is too slow. Nike learned that the hard way. They had Shedeur in the system. They just didn't realize who they had. They tried to play it safe, standard rollout, standard campaign. Instead, he turned their own machine on its head. Now they're renegotiating under pressure, trying to catch up to the value that exploded under their feet. And you know who's paying attention? Every single high school and college athlete with a brand already in motion. They see this. They're taking notes. Because Shedeur just opened the door and blew it off the hinges. This wasn't just about being marketable. It was about redefining what marketable means. It means authenticity. Not a slogan, but a presence. It means not waiting for a company to hand you a campaign, but arriving with one already living and breathing. It means building from who you are, not who the brand wants you to be. And that's what scares the system. Because they can't replicate it. They can't control it. The SS crown wasn't born in a boardroom. It was built from reps, from discipline, from consistency. And you can't fake that. So here we are, post-launch, post-sellout, post-shock. And the dust still hasn't settled. Nike's reshuffling their entire digital infrastructure to avoid another crash. Adidas and Puma are pushing their talent scouts to find the next Shedeur-level presence before that player goes viral on their own. The NFL is being forced to rethink how much control it really has over the narrative. And the fans? They're wearing the crown. They're choosing player over team. Identity over institution. Movement over merchandise. And Shedeur Sanders? He hasn't changed. He hasn't made a spectacle of his success. Because for him, this isn't a moment, it's a process. The logo, the merch, the attention? It's all a reflection of the real work. And that's why it resonates. So if you're watching this unfold, now's the time to ask yourself where this goes next. Because this isn't the peak. This is just the opening statement. The industry better be ready. Because the next chapter isn't coming. It's already here. Let us know what you think. Is this the future of athlete influence or just a once-in-a-generation outlier? Hit that like button if you're seeing the shift happen in real time. Drop your thoughts in the comments and be sure to subscribe. We're just getting started, and trust us, this isn't a moment you want to miss.